Have you ever pondered who the most menacing female gangsters in the world are? Crime narratives predominantly revolve around male protagonists, with the female characters, if present at all, being seen as mere accomplices or ornaments. However, there is a largely unexplored dimension to this narrative, one that may not be as widely recognized but is packed with spine-chilling realities. These women, rather than being mere faces lost within the throng, have etched a lasting impression on the dark underbelly of society. They exist not just in the realm of silver screen fiction, but in the harsh realities of our world, shrouded in secrecy and cloaked in enigma. They are far from being the damsels in distress. They are the reigning queens of the underworld, ruling an iron fist and often eclipsing their male counterparts in influence and power. Welcome back to Helpful Think, and for today's video, let's brace ourselves to plunge into the abyss and unveil the 10 most dangerous women in the world of crime. Kicking off our list at number 10, we delve into the life of Phoolan Devi, predominantly remembered as the Bandit Queen of India. Her tale is one that starts in the humble village of Gura Ka Purwa in rural Uttar Pradesh, where she was born into a poor, low-caste Malla family. From being a simple village girl to becoming a feared outlaw, Phoolan Devi's journey was a compelling tale, painted with the harsh hues of violence, vengeance, and societal stigma. Her life was a tumultuous roller coaster, punctuated by an early marriage at the tender age of 11, subsequent domestic abuse, and a sequence of bone-chilling events that coerced her to adopt the life of a bandit. Phoolan Devi etched her name into the annals of history through her audacious acts of robbery and kidnapping. Her exploits targeted the affluent, thereby striking terror in their hearts. Yet curiously, these same acts drew admiration and even reverence from the impoverished, who were often victims of the opulent. Her reputation as a rebellious outlaw, willing to challenge the powerful and stand up against social injustice, was further cemented by these daring deeds. However, it was the gruesome event of the Bemai massacre that truly ingrained her name in the annals of infamy. In this horrifying incident, 22 men from the Thakur caste were executed in cold blood, a chilling act of retribution orchestrated by Phoolan Devi herself. This shocking event rippled through the nation, drawing intense scrutiny from both national and international media, and catapulted her into the global limelight. After the massacre, Phoolan Devi remained on the run and was nearly caught by the police on the 31st of March, 1981. Her mother was held for 5 months in Kalpi prison to pressure Phoolan Devi to give herself up. In 1983, Phoolan Devi surrendered to the authorities after long negotiations. Phoolan Devi faced 48 criminal charges, and her gang was incarcerated at Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh. Charges against Phoolan Devi were dropped in 1994 by order of Mulayam Singh Yadav, the leader of the Samajwadi Party and Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh. After her release from prison, she joined the Samajwadi Party, and in the 1996 general election took a seat in the Indian lower legislative body, the Lok Sabha, as the Member of Parliament for Mirzapur in Uttar Pradesh. At 13:30 on the 25th of July 2001, Phoolan Devi was shot dead by 3 unknown assailants outside her house. Number 9 brings forth Maria Licciardi, the matriarchal figure of the Camorra crime clan in Italy. Maria, an intriguing character who shatters the conventional impression of a crime lord, is a woman of subtlety and discretion. Her mastery of navigating the murky, perilous world of organized crime is both captivating and terrifying. She manages to remain incognito, almost ethereal, while simultaneously maintaining control over one of the most robust and feared criminal organizations, nestled in the bustling heart of Naples. Licciardi rose to power and took over as head of the clan after her 2 brothers, Pietro and Vincenzo, and her husband were arrested. She was the first female Camorrista to become the boss of the Licciardi clan and take over as head of the Secondigliano alliance. The death of Gennaro Licciardi caused some disruption in the local underworld, as well as several bloody attempts to seize control. But the clan was kept in stable condition by Maria. She brought together a fragile, informal coalition of 20 Camorra clans in order to expand control of the city's most lucrative rackets. from drugs and cigarette smuggling to protection and prostitution. She also played a key role in expanding the city's drug trade market. Under her leadership, the Secondigliano alliance became more organized, secretive, sophisticated, and consequently more powerful. Licciardi introduced many revolutionary changes to the clan. Perhaps the most important among them was the involvement in the prostitution trade. Prior to this, the Camorra had a code of conduct that forbade them from making money from prostitution. However, under Licciardi, this code was broken. The Camorra would buy the girls from the Albanian mafia for $2,000. Many of them came on the promise of legitimate work in order to escape the crushing poverty of their homeland, but once they arrived, they were practically enslaved and forced into prostitution by the Camorra. Unlike many male Camorristi, Licciardi shunned the limelight and was never convicted or even suspected of any crime. One well-connected insider described her as radiating a steely charisma. According to police sources, she was reputed to be practical, charming, exceptionally intelligent, but just as ruthless as her male counterparts. She carried a cold and calculating approach in her criminal endeavors. The reign of Maria Licciardi ran smoothly for many years, until a disagreement arose over a consignment of pure, unrefined heroin. In the spring of 1999, a large consignment of heroin arrived from Istanbul, Turkey. Licciardi decreed it should not be sold, as it was too pure and strong for the average user, and would thus kill those who purchased it, harming the alliance's large customer base of drug users. However, the LaRusso clan, who had always chafed under her leadership, disagreed and packaged the shipment for sale on the street. The sale of the packets of unrefined heroin resulted in the deaths of many drug addicts across Naples, 11 of whom died in April 1999 alone. This caused great public outrage and resulted in massive police crackdowns on the Camorra clans. Many Camorristi were arrested and subsequently imprisoned. Maria Licciardi was arrested in 2001 and still remains in prison. Securing the 8th position is none other than the notorious Sandra Ávila Beltrán, popularly known as the Queen of the Pacific. An unparalleled figure in the underworld, she emerged from Mexico as an influential drug lord, with her reputation echoing in the corridors of crime. Born into a lineage with deep connections to society's underbelly, Beltran's arrival into the illegal trade seemed more like a preordained path than a choice. Her reign was unchallenged, marked by a combination of respect and fear, making her a synonym for immense power. As a key player in the dreaded Sinaloa Cartel, her alliance with this notorious organization further solidified her position. The Sinaloa Cartel is infamous for their merciless ventures in the drug trafficking industry. Beltran was a formidable force within the cartel, controlling a substantial faction of its operations that extended far beyond its Mexican heartland and into the Pacific. Her role was not just as a figurehead, but also as a strategic planner and effective executor, enabling the cartel to expand its reach and influence. She set up a vast and prolific drug trafficking network that transcended international borders and remained undeterred by law enforcement agencies' efforts. Demonstrating audacious fearlessness, her network operated with military precision, originating in Mexico's core, crossing borders, overcoming obstacles, and extending to the very doorstep of the United States. On April 23, 2013, Avila Beltrán pled guilty to being an accessory after the fact to the crime of drug trafficking. And on July 25th, she was sentenced to 70 months in federal prison, with credit for time served. Avila Beltrán was released from the U.S. Bureau of Prisons July 30th and turned over to ICE custody. At that time, she was processed to be administratively deported to Mexico as an aggravated felon, where she was immediately arrested on money laundering charges on the 20th of August 2013 and was sentenced to 5 more years in prison and a fine. She was imprisoned at the Federal Social Readaptation Center, number 4 Federal Prison in Tepic, Nayarit. She was released in 2015 and now lives in the city of Guadalajara. Since her arrest in 2007, she spent a total of 7 years in prison, including 2 years in isolation. Our discussion begins with the rise of Jemeker Thompson, a force to be reckoned with who ascended to be the crowned queen pin of Los Angeles. In a sphere where women were seldom seen, Thompson carved her own path, driven by relentless ambition, a craving for power, and a stubborn resolve to be the absolute ruler. She was not a run-of-the-mill woman, but the uncontested sovereign of her territory. During the tumultuous times of the 1980s and 90s, Thompson erected her empire. It was not a typical empire made of bricks and grout, but rather a formidable, multi-million-dollar empire that flourished on the back of the crack cocaine trade. A trade as lethal as it was profitable. Thompson sailed through the treacherous seas of drug trafficking with an iron will and indomitable spirit, leaving behind a trail of dread and devastation. The tools of her trade extended beyond the narcotics she supplied. It involved ruthless violence and intimidation exerted to sustain her reign and dominion. Thompson was not just a figure of fear, she was also held in high esteem, commanding reverence from those who dared to cross her path. A woman of many guises, she was a charismatic leader, a cunning entrepreneur, and a brutal force to be reckoned with. However, her reign was not devoid of scandals and downfalls. When Percy "Cheese" Bratton, her business partner, was arrested with kilos of cocaine in his car, he made a deal with investigators, providing the evidence needed to indict Thompson. Thompson tried to avoid capture, but at the age of 31 was arrested at her son's 6th grade graduation ceremony. Thompson was charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine and 5 counts of money laundering. Thompson was indicted, convicted, and completed 12 of her 15-year prison sentence, being released in 2005. During her time in prison, Thompson converted to Christianity and after her release began a Christian ministry called Second Chance Evangelical Ministries. Number 6 on our list introduces us to Marlory Chacon Rossell, the notorious Queen of the South. While the name Marlory might not immediately ring a bell, it's associated with a powerful and influential figure in the world of illicit trade. Born in the heartland of Guatemala, Marlory's journey from an ordinary woman to one of the most infamous personalities in the underworld is a compelling narrative. Rising from modest beginnings, she took hold of the reins of an empire thriving in obscurity, a universe that dealt in danger, power, and immense wealth. Marlory Chacon Rossell was far from an average drug trafficker. She stood as a central figure in the international drug trade. Her name resounds in both seedy alleys and lofty boardrooms, symbolizing a far-reaching influence that transcends the confines of her native country. She was more than just a participant, she was a puppeteer who skillfully manipulated the trajectory of the trade to suit her interests. Her network was not only extensive and complex, but also elicited fear, reaching out to the most formidable cartels of Mexico and Colombia. It was a web spun with threads of fear, loyalty, and avarice. With a combination of craftiness and intelligence, Marlory successfully infiltrated these powerful organizations. She wasn't merely associated with them, she was an integral part of them, acting as a key role player and a catalyst for their operations. The links she formed were far from superficial. They were alliances honed in the crucible of common ambitions and mutual benefits. Her tale is a riveting account of survival, resolve, and boldness. An account of a woman braving the treacherous waters of the international drug trade, leaving a trail marked by influence and notoriety. This Guatemalan drug trafficker wasn't just a participant in the international drug trade. She was a mover and a shaker with profound connections to the Mexican and Colombian cartels. Occupying a striking position in our captivating catalog, at the number 5 spot we present the formidable Raffaela D'Alterio, an Italian mob boss whose reputation for ruthlessness and power is unrivaled. Born and bred in the epicenter of Italy, she mounted the throne of power in an arena historically dominated by men, shattering societal norms and defying all expectations. The notorious Pianese D'Alterio clan fell under her control, not by choice but by a necessity imposed by the harsh and premature murder of her dear husband, a monumental incident that etched a permanent scar on her psyche and ignited her relentless determination. In the face of adversity, she grasped the helm of leadership, weaving her way through the murky maze of the criminal world. Her leadership was characterized by her strategic mind, iron will, and merciless disposition. Her reign of the Pianese D'Alterio clan was not a mere transfer of power, but an epic of transformation in the underworld. What ensued under D'Alterio's rule was far from a period of peace or diplomacy. Rather, her tenure saw the organization dive into a harrowing and violent war, a time hallmarked by instability, deceit, and an unyielding bloodlust. This relentless war was more than territorial gain or a power struggle. It was personal. It left a trail of destruction, numerous casualties, and a landscape forever altered by the echoes of violence and revenge. According to some assumptions, her gang was responsible for more than 4,000 murders in the last 30 years. Her track record included extortion, money laundering, counterfeiting, robbery, illegal possession of weapons, and drug trafficking. She was arrested in 2012 along with another 65 suspects during one of the raids committed by the Italian military. More than $10 million was found in cash. Number 4 ushers in the riveting tale of Enedina Arellano Félix, the pioneering female leader of a Mexican drug cartel. Enedina, having grown up in the grimy underbelly of society, shattered the mold when she assumed control of the infamous Tijuana Cartel, a criminal syndicate notorious for its relentless violence and global influence. Stepping into the shoes of the empire's former rulers, her brothers who met their fates either at the hands of enemies or on the wrong side of the law, Enedina was not a mere placeholder in this male-dominated world. Rather, she emerged as an unwavering powerhouse, leveraging her cunning acumen to navigate through the treacherous terrain and not only survive, but thrive. Indeed, Enedina's ascension to power was anything but circumstantial. It was an emphatic affirmation of her inherent strategic prowess, her ability to seize control and maintain a firm grip on an organization known for its volatility. She wasn't simply occupying a vacant spot, she was actively chiseling her own unique path, smashing through societal expectations and defying the cliched roles conceived for women in her position. Demonstrating fierce intelligence, Enedina was the brain behind the cartel's operations. She meticulously supervised all aspects of the syndicate, from outlining drug trafficking routes to controlling complex monetary transactions. Her leadership style was a unique blend of ruthlessness and precise calculation, and this was fundamental to her success. Her audacity in the face of constant threats of violence and arrest was nothing short of remarkable. She managed to uphold her control, relentlessly pursuing her goals with determination and ambition. Enedina was more than just a ruthless leader, she was a strategic planner, adept at navigating the perilous seas of the drug trade. Enedina's leadership of the Tijuana Cartel was marked by a brutal and no-nonsense approach. She commanded the loyalty of her subordinates through fear and respect, adopting aggressive tactics to eliminate competition and consolidate her power. Her shrewdness extended to maintaining a low profile to avoid the attention of the law, while simultaneously orchestrating an empire infamous for its operations. Her reign at the helm of the Tijuana Cartel was characterized by an iron fist and a cunning mind, setting the standard for the ruthlessness required to not only lead, but also prosper in the world of organized crime. She stood as a testament of the fact that when it comes to the brutal game of power, gender has no standing. Only the most ruthless and cunning survive. In June 2000, the United States Department of the Treasury sanctioned Enedina under the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act, and is still believed to this day could be running the remnants of the Tijuana Cartel. Securing the third position is Griselda Blanco, the infamous Godmother of Cocaine. She's a name that has triggered fear in many hearts and has left an indelible mark on the annals of crime. Originating from Cartagena, Colombia, Blanco's life was fraught with violence and adversity from a tender age of 3. Initiating her life in crime early, her infamous reputation proliferated swiftly. Blanco's ascent to supremacy in the narcotics realm was propelled by her unparalleled audacity and strategic brilliance. She formed a crucial part of the notorious Medellin Cartel, one of the most formidable criminal syndicates the globe has ever witnessed. Renowned for its overwhelming power and palpable terror, Blanco emerged as a pivotal player in the cartel's operations. Her influence led the cartel to extend its activities beyond Colombia, weaving an intricate web of drug trafficking and illegal activities across numerous continents. Blanco was far from an average drug dealer. She was a drug sirena. Her violent methodologies became her ominous signature, a stark symbol of the cold-bloodedness she epitomized. Blanco was a woman of many personas, mother, entrepreneur, and a merciless mobster. The sight of blood did not intimidate her. Rather, she relished in the authority it conferred upon her. In the Medellin cartel, Blanco was the ultimate authority, commanding respect, while simultaneously instilling a sense of horror in those who dared to cross her path. Her reign was marked by a blend of terror and reverence, and even today, her name is often murmured in subdued tones, bearing witness to the long-lasting impact she left in her wake. On February 17, 1985, Blanco was arrested in her home by the DEA and charged with conspiring to manufacture, import, and distribute cocaine. The case went to trial in federal court in New York City, where she was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years. In 2004, she was released and deported to Medellin, where she lived a quiet life. Before her murder in 2012, she was last seen in May 2007 at Bogotá Airport. Our next chapter delves deep into the intriguing story of Rosetta Cutolo, the renowned Queen of Camorra. Her tale is intertwined with power, audacity, and resilience, making Rosetta a towering figure in the pages of Italian mafia history. Starting from the most humble of origins, she found herself plunged into a life of crime not by choice, but due to circumstances that left her with no alternative. Rosetta's induction into the mafia world was triggered by her brother, Raffaela Cutolo, a notable mafia figure himself, who had to go into hiding. With her brother gone, the reins of the empire he built lay in Rosetta's hands. Suddenly, she found herself thrust into the daunting and perilous world of mafia operations, unfamiliar territory that she was forced to traverse for her family's sake. Born in 1937, is known as the sister of the famous criminal and former head of the gang of Nuova Camorra Organizzata, Raffaela Cutolo. As its residence, Rosetta chose the 16th century palace of Castello Mediceo, which accommodates 365 rooms, tennis courts, and a swimming pool. In the early 80s, in obedience to an impulse of feeling, she ordered to blow up the police station. This resulted in the subsequent rout of her castle, and the woman herself spent the next 10 years on the run. In 1993, she surrendered to the police, explaining that she was tired of being on the run. Rosetta Cutolo died on the 14th of October 2023 at the age of 86. Indeed, our top-ranked figure, Ching Shih, the pirate queen, was not just a figure of legend, but a living, breathing testament to the power and might of piracy. As a woman commanding respect in the vast seas, she stood as the pirate lord, her authority unquestionable. Her fleet was unlike any that had been seen before. A grand armada, consisting of hundreds of vessels, each one a symbol of dread and intimidation. It's been reported that sailors would feel their heartbeats quicken merely at the sight of these ships on the horizon. For they knew those vessels proclaimed the arrival of the pirate queen and her formidable force of pirates. The sheer size of Ching Shih's rule was immense. Imagine, if you will, tens of thousands of pirates, each one pledging their loyalty to her. These were men and women who willingly chose a life of piracy, ready to loot, plunder, and strike fear into the hearts of any who dared cross their path. Each pirate was an integral part of the complex jigsaw puzzle that was Ching Shih's empire, contributing their piece to her grand game of power and dominance. Her reign was not a brief episode, but rather spanned several years, marking a time of unparalleled terror in the maritime world. With each passing day, the legend of the Pirate Queen intensified, casting a shadow so vast and pervading that it continues to linger even today. Her audacious acts, her commanding presence, her sheer power, all these have indelibly inscribed her name into the annals of history. Her tale is repeatedly recounted with a sense of awe and terror, for she was a force that commanded respect and instilled fear in even the bravest of hearts. The gravity of Ching Shih's impact on history is evident. She was, without a shadow of doubt, one of the most feared criminals the world has ever known. Her reign as the Pirate Queen is an echo from the past that continues to resonate, a stark reminder of the power that fear and respect can command. In conclusion, these women, from Phoolan Devi's violent retribution to Ching Shih's pirate empire, have profoundly impacted the landscape of crime, rewriting history with their bloody legacies. They, with their unique stories, have shattered the stereotypical notion of crime being a male-dominated sphere, proving that women, too, can cause chaos. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed today's video and made it this far, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop.